Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Y'all come on in and share this, please, as you come in. Trying to share it myself. Okay. Thanks, James. My little brother's already on. Okay. Okay. Y'all share this, please. Hey, Alicia. How are you, ma'am? Y'all share this, let people know we're on. It's open mic night. Talking about what y'all want to talk about. Evans, if you can turn your mic, your camera on. You're ready to start. Well, thank you. All right. Let's cut this off. Let's see if I can cut off for a start. There we go. Bam. Oh. Hey, what's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours true. Well, hold on. Before I do all that, Pastor Evans, can you hear me? I see you, man. I see that you're in the back room, but I don't see your face. So if you're there, can you turn your camera on if you figure that part out while we invite people in? If you're in the back room, if you're in the audience, please, ma'am, please, sir, say hello. Say how you doing. Let me know where you're listening from. And where you're listening from, what city, what state. What's up, Dennis? What's going on? Let me find out you got them vocals on deck, man. Please. I just hum every now and then and sing, as Alicia calls it, I sing a little A and B selection every now and then. A little something like that. Hey, for real, y'all, this is open mic night. I'm trying to find a link right now. Trying to find it. Hold on. Go out and come back in. Or use your phone. Hold on. I'm trying to get him in. All right. Yeah. We go. No, it should say allow. I'm trying to help my guests get in because I'm trying to have a panel tonight. For real. It's open mic night. So let me get this link on for you all. So if anybody wants to jump on, they can jump on. One thing at a time. First this, then I'll do that. Organize your thoughts. What's up? What y'all want to talk about tonight? What y'all want to talk about? We're gonna. I was gonna do a little bit of kind of some of the things that we've talked about over the last few weeks. If you all have any questions about those things, let's talk, man, for real. I want to keep real relevant. Talk about real issues. Talk about real faith. Because this thing is challenging, man. It's real, but we can make it. Real talk, and we've made it. That's the powerful part for me is that we've made it. Still don't see you, Doc. I don't know what's going on with that. We should have did test this earlier. Hopefully you can hear me when I call you, but I don't know what it is, but I can't see you, Dr. Evans. Turn your camera. Maybe your camera's turned around the wrong way. See if you can reverse it or something. I don't know, but I can't see you. All right, but yeah, y'all come up. Yeah, real. Let's talk real. Whatever y'all want to talk about. The other link is I'm gonna put the phone number up. It's hot in here. I'm gonna put the phone number up. Let me do that. So that way I can have the phone number available. And really, real talk, man, whatever y'all see it, there it is. Open mic night. Open mic night. I see Greg in the room, in the house. I see Alicia in the house. I see Gabbard Smith in the house. I see people. They're here. So that's good. So we might not be able to see past that. Go out. I don't know what to tell you, Doc. But I wish I could see you. I really wish I could see you. I wish I could see you. Can you hear? Hey, what's up, Sharon, Denise? Hey, it's open mic night tonight, Sharon. So we're talking about whatever. I'm going to share my stuff in a minute, and I really want that. Dr. Okay, Edwin Strickland, he's in the house tonight. Listen. The link. Oh, let me take the Cash App stuff down, y'all. If it gets good, then y'all want to bless a brother, y'all can do it. But yeah, man, what's up? It's open mic night. Listen, I've been dealing with Joseph's journey. I've been dealing with the grace gap. I've been dealing about, being able, in order to be able to really give grace, you got to know how to receive grace. I've been dealing with a whole lot of different things, practical issues, as it relates to some of the things that we deal with in the world, or the principles that we take out of church, right? So we're gonna do that tonight. But I want to share a testimony. Let me see if I can at least hear him, because I can't see him, but at least I can hear him. Dr. Evans, can I hear you at least? Are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, I don't know why I can't. If you want to be in the dark tonight, you mustn't get your hair cut.
No hair, so I don't know what that is.
I'm jumping. All right, so y'all, we getting started like this. Pastor Strickland, if you want to jump in, you can help me too, for real. Because I have a confession. I really have a confession. And you're a licensed therapist, Doc, so you can help me through this, okay? Yesterday, I didn't go to church. I didn't go to church yesterday. For me, it was almost a mental health decision. I didn't go because, and it started with me on Saturday. And I show up every Sunday. I do. If you haven't shared this, share it. I need you to like it, because that kind of gets the algorithm moving, all that kind of stuff. But Doc, hold on. I didn't know this thing was in my face. Let me take this thing out of my face. I don't want this thing in my face. Hold on. I have to find another way to get the phone number up. But listen, so anyway, I didn't go to church. And the reason why I didn't go to church was because I knew that Dr. Evans or Dennis Pittman just said hello as well. But I knew that there you are, okay. I knew that losing my mom only a couple of years ago, going to church on Mother's Day and seeing how everybody was reacting, I knew that would probably put me in a funk. You know what I'm saying? Or put me in a bad mood, or trouble my spirit. And I knew it was going to do it because it started Saturday, right? And so I made a decision Saturday. I said, man, I'm not going to church. I watched it on TV, whatever, but I'm not going to do it. And for me, that was a mental health decision. And I'm going to tell you why, for me, Dr. Evans, that was a breakthrough. Because for years, even as a child, when I couldn't control my anger, or sometimes when I would internalize anger, I would upset whole rooms. You know what I'm saying? I'm walking, I'm sitting in a crowd full of people, wouldn't interact, wouldn't talk, not necessarily have my arms folded, but I was so into myself, inwardly, that I was probably just hard to be around. And a lot of people just didn't tell me. You know what I'm saying? And recently, some people have told me. You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm of the opinion that when you look in the mirror and you see something that needs adjusting, that it behooves us. I'm gonna use a preacher word right there. It behooves us to at least make the adjustment, right? So I said, rather than go to church, and mess up everybody's mood, or or look like I got an attitude, or have people misjudging me, yada yada, whatever it is, I'm gonna sit this one out. You know what I'm saying? Now, it made me think, and you can let me know what you think about this. It made me think, how many times do people show up, but they're not really present? I mean, because was I wrong for not going to church? Talk to me. You're the pastor now. So I'm confessing to a pastor tonight. You talk to me.
Well, I would normally encourage and see the Mother's Day is not the only time that individuals may find it difficult to be in a worship experience with others. Most of the time, this is why I share with members. When I don't see them for a period of time, I know they're going through something. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's the one occasion. Although I do know that there are those who are there, they're very emotional because their mother has passed. So I take that into consideration also. But it's where you are in the grieving process. We still have to look at that. I mean, I was sitting beside a brother. His daughter passed on Christmas morning. Mm-hmm. And he was talking. He brought her up in the conversation. So he was in the worship. He was there, but and one of the signs that you have processed it is when you have more positive memories than the negativity of loss.
Okay. Unpack that a little bit more for some people that might be a little slow like me. Unpack that a little bit more for you.
So now I would think that it's still some work to do in that particular area in order to be able to remember the wonderful times and moments that you spent with your mother.
Gotcha. And this is the thing, and I hear that, and because you said something key there. You said it depends on where you are in the grieving process, right? Mm-hmm. And people grieve how they grieve, right? Mm-hmm. Me, I'm not one that really wants to hear a lot of people say it's gonna be all right, or I don't want to hear people saying it's gonna get better, or I've been where you are. When I grieve, I think Job's journey would have been a little easier had he not had a Bildad, Zophar, and Eliphaz in his life. You know what I'm saying? Because all they sat there and did the whole for so many chapters of that book was evaluate why he was possibly in the situation he was in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I believe that our processes, and this conversation is make a left turn in a minute. But I believe our processes are individually unique, right? They all have their own fingerprint. They all have their unique strand of DNA. You know what I'm saying? So we can find certain characteristics about certain things. What's up, Jackie? We can do all that, right? But at the end of the day, people grieve how they grieve. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you just have to kind of respect, not sometimes, but you have to respect that person's process. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question because you said, and Dr. Evans is a therapist, licensed. So what kind of work do you do to get to a place? Because I'm gonna make this turn towards the grace gap in a minute. I see how God's delivering it right now. But what kind of work do you do to work your way through that process?
Well, one of the things everyone should know that when it's coming up to the anniversary of a loved one's death, if it comes to their birthday, if it's a father, if it comes to Father's Day, mother comes to Mother's Day, you have to give the thought that there may need to be some preparations for that day.
Okay.
Instead of just letting that day come, and it finds you wherever it finds you, it's okay to do some preparations, to have some prep work in order to get your mindset in a place, because you know what you're feeling, but the only thing about it, that feeling and that emotion was emphasized just because of that particular day, unless an individual is just struggling with it on a regular basis. So if I ask you, are you struggling regularly with the passing of your mother?
Me?
Yes.
No, not really. It's like I'll know something will be off. You know what I'm saying? Just be off, and then that'll be Mother's Day, or it'll be her birthday. You know what I'm saying? But it'll be something to just be off. I don't know what it is.
Well, now something is off because again, there is a clear reminder of her absence.
Yeah, but see, growing up, I didn't grow up in the house with my mom, so and y'all don't crucify me, Jackie. I know how you are. But I didn't always remember my mom's birthday like that because, it was, what I'm saying? I grew up in a different house, right? As I got older, I started to remember it. But I might not even know the date. You know what I'm saying? I just know we're in October or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, I just feel off. And then I said, that's what that is. I didn't even see the Facebook memory. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see the Facebook memory. I didn't, it was nothing to come on across my timeline to remind me. But something in my spirit would be troubled. And that's the end. Go ahead.
Here's my personal situation. My dad passed in 23. In June of 24, someone asked me about my dad's passing, and I didn't even know there was an anniversary. And this is the reason. I think about my father multiple times during the week. Multiple times. So I don't think there has been a week since his death where I have not thought about him. So I believe that helps me in the process, because on the date of the month that he had passed, I didn't even realize it because I think about him so often. Wow. But now I think about him from the perspective of the life he lived, what he gave me, and what I, in turn, tried my best to give him while he lived.
How old was he?
86.
Okay, he was okay. Had he been ill?
He was getting weaker and weaker. Didn't have an appetite, and basically wouldn't eat enough to sustain himself. And we were telling him that you got to eat because you just need something.
I didn't mean to cut. I'm sorry. Y'all. I'm sorry. I cut Pastor Evans off. Y'all cussed me. Y'all. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I think I could have rationalized it better had my mom been sick.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think if she had been ill or had went through a period, but my mom went in for a surgery because. And I know, don't get me wrong. I understand the providential will of God. I know, I get it. I mean, I know all the cliches. I get all that, right? But my mom went in for shoulder surgery. Well, and when the surgery was over, they said it was one of the best surgeries he had ever done. But because they didn't give her blood thinners, and that's what the theory is, But she stands up, goes to the bathroom, and throws a clot in the middle of the night, and and so sometimes I don't think I think about it because sometimes it's shock. I think because it's still unreal. Okay. And it's unreal, and then it becomes surreal, right? Good God. It's unreal because even when my sister gave me the phone call, she said, James, I'm on my way out to this hospital. I can't believe this happened, yada, yada, yada. I got to go see what's going on. Then my little brother called and said, man, I can't believe it. I said, yeah, man, Kim already called me. He said, man, mama gone. I said, what? So it was so unreal. So sometimes I almost forget. You feel what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I have to turn around and then my spirit's troubled the day before Mother's Day. And then my spirit's troubled the week of her birthday. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I say, and this is where the conversation stems from. My mental health decision was because I think somebody told me a good definition of mental health is when the brain is presented with a scenario. How do you come to make a good decision in that moment? that's a good, positive mental health. And so prior to that moment, you're talking about preparation. I said, rather than go and know how I'm going to feel, you know what I'm saying? God knows me. He knows my heart. I can give through Givelify. You know what I'm saying? So my money can still get there. But I needed to take that break. You know what I'm saying? That mental break. And I think and even I had to go to work afterwards. And I still felt off at work. You know what I'm saying? It took me a minute to get together, get myself from being, because I really, in those moments, how do y'all in the audience? Let me ask y'all a question. We're gonna get past Evans back in a second. When you all feel like your spirit is off, how do you process? Sue Ann, Myra, Chris, those of you all over, Jackie, when y'all are watching, I mean, when you, like, for instance, if you're grieving, do you want to be in the company of others? Or when you're going through some issues, do you like to go through them alone? Do you have to be affirmed? What is y'all's process? And this is open mic night. I'm sorry, I'm not going to dominate the conversation. I want y'all to start. So. But give us some, go ahead, Doc. What you agreed to jump in when I was stopping just a minute ago? What were you going to say?
Well, it still shows that you're still somewhere in the process. Mm-hmm. The reality for me came when I saw my father 4 days before he passed, and I actually took a picture of my father. I had never seen him as weak as he was, and I saw something in him that I had never seen before. So seeing that and knowing that, look, it's not looking good, it gave me time to process it. With you, James, you didn't have that time, because again, you received a good report about the surgery, and you're just expecting mom to be well, and that wasn't the outcome. So I think that initial shock caused you to still be struggling with it, and it has to be a real struggle. How long has it been?
2 years.
Okay, it hadn't been long. So again, somewhere in the grieving process, you are still there, and it's okay to be there, and it's okay to say, I'm going to choose to do this, and I'm going to choose not to do this for your own mental health. Okay.
But the only thing about that is making that decision not to go, not to be in that environment with the wrong attitude, right? Mm-hmm. But there have been so many times in the past that I was. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example.
That you were there in the wrong mindset.
Yeah, not dealing with grief. I'm gonna give you an example. A couple weeks ago, one of my homegirls, she called me. She said, I need you to come help me break something down. And I had just gotten off work, long day, yada yada yada. My mindset was really thinking about going home. Mm-hmm. And she called me, and she kind of interrupted with my thought process. And so I went out of my way and went to go help her do what she was going to do. And then when I got there, I was quiet. I was on my business. I wasn't really smiling. She said I was stepping hard. She said I looked mean. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't look inviting. And if I didn't want to come, I probably shouldn't have came. You know what I'm saying? And my children have told me that recently in the past that I would sometimes I make it uncomfortable for people to be around me in certain settings and all this. You know what I'm saying? But most times I'm just really I'm not upset. I'm just into myself, or I'm just thinking, I'm on my phone, or I'm like I just said, I'm present, but sometimes I'm not really there. Does that make sense? And I'm trying to think, could that be some type of childhood trauma, something that I need to break, or I don't know, but like I said, I knew yesterday I wasn't gonna mess it up. I wasn't gonna put myself in that position. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I don't want to y'all diagnose me on here and somebody be trying to give me medication or anything. I'm just asking a question.
Well, I normally have grace for individuals when they're going through something and they miss a Sunday. But I also tell them, the more time you miss from hearing an encouraging word, for being around your brothers and sisters, it also gives opportunity for other things to happen. So I would just say guard against, going through a divorce and being at church every Sunday.
Yeah.
The divorce was the death of a marriage, and feeling that and carrying that.
Yeah.
But the support that the members gave me I took about a month off at one time. That was all I felt like I needed. I went to church every Sunday, but I traveled also during that time. But
Yeah.
but it was refreshing, and it gave me the time I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's something that's interesting.
Yeah.
Going to the place of worship where everyone knows you.
Don't go nowhere, Myra. It's like your blessing is coming. Hold on, I got you. Stay right there.
It may be easier to change your setting for that Sunday and to go to a place where you're not as known.
Yeah. Like, okay. I got you. And most of the people that responded a minute ago when I asked that question, most of everybody said they're loners. They like to process things by themselves. They like to go through things alone. I got it. But here's the thing for me, and because what we've been talking about, and I want y'all to jump in this conversation for real. The phone number's here. If it helps to testify, to talk, Doc is here. Doc don't mind talk. I've had Doc get on the phone with me after a show. And we called a man in Seattle, Washington, or somewhere, and he gave that man a therapy session for about 40 minutes to talk that man off the ledge. So we're here talking tonight, and we're just having a conversation. We're not just having a conversation. But Doc, I've been teaching this concept. If you all haven't liked this post or shared it, please do it. All right, I've been teaching this concept about grace, right? Because we talked about Joseph, and we talked about grace and all these things. And I said sometimes the reason why a lot of us don't receive grace is because we have been stuck in the grace gap. And what I call the grace gap, this is an acronym that I use. Grace is guilt, it's resentment, it's anxiety, it's condemnation, and it's ego. Grace, guilt, resentment, anxiety, condemnation, ego, all those things, if they are resident in our life and operating, will make us think that we don't deserve grace or keep us from receiving grace, right? Guilt, resentment, anxiety. So here it is. I could have felt guilty about not going. I could have condemned myself about not going, right? But I gave myself grace. And this is what I want to tell so many other people, Myra included, is that we all have to learn how to get beyond the guilt, get beyond the resentment, get beyond the anxiety, get beyond the condemnation, get beyond the ego, so that we can really be transparent. If we ain't gonna be transparent with anybody, we at least need to be transparent with God. What you think, Doc? Am I on to something?
Oh no, I think you should have the freedom to take the time that you need, and that's, to me, is you giving yourself the grace that you need. As a pastor, I gave myself a month. There's actually 5 Sundays. I returned to church on the 5th Sunday, but I didn't preach on that Sunday. Okay. So it's you doing what you need to do. Again, making sure that you're being spiritually fed, making sure that you have fellowship with someone. And remember, the thing that makes it difficult with those who know you is that maybe some people know what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. When you go into a setting that's not your normal setting, no one knows.
Yeah, I got it. So all my people in the chat who said they like to be alone, and I get it. I did it. I wrote a whole book about being stuck on the couch. But even while I was on the couch, I tell people that I equate my experience to like Elijah with the J. Elijah by the brook of Kerith. Brook of Kerith being the place of cutting, right? And so I like to equate his experience to surgery, like surgery with no anesthesia, right? But God sustained you in the process because he allowed water to flow in the midst of a drought. He allowed ravens to reverse their nature because they're carnivorous birds that ate meat, but they brought, as Pastor Craig Oliver used to say, they brought sirloin tips and biscuits to Elijah every morning, because God sustained him. He gave him grace even in the midst of a drought. And I think so many times we find ourselves in droughts, where it seems like stuff that used to work. I preached a sermon last week called I Lost It and I Got to Get It Back, because so many people have lost their accent, right? They've lost their cutting edge, that thing that je ne sais quoi, and they're trying to get it because here it is, Alicia, Myra, the stuff that used to work, when it stops working, what do you do then? So you have to give yourself grace. How do you tell people to, Pastor Evans, how do you tell people to put themselves in a position to receive grace?
It's probably thinking most about yourself and what you need and realizing that it's okay to take care of yourself.
Okay.
And there's not a person who is alive. I don't care what your calling is. I don't care how deep your anointing is. There are times in which you just have to take care of you. Everyone else will be okay. Just take care of you. And that's you having the grace to allowing yourself to receive what you need. So if it's time away, it's time away. So, no one's mad or upset over that. The only thing I tell people is to watch how much time you spend in isolation. God uses solitude for a purpose. Satan uses isolation for a totally different purpose.
You said Satan uses it for a totally different purpose?
Yeah.
All right. Talk about that a little bit more.
Satan isolates us to destroy us.
Mm-hmm.
God puts us in solitude so that we can draw nearer and closer to him.
So in that point, I guess the sheep know. I know the sheep recognize the shepherd's voice and a stranger.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. And also when you're in that time of aloneness, what your thoughts are. Okay. Are they're either godly or ungodly? What's your temperament? Are you going into a depression? Or are you at a place of stability where you're looking at your situations, but you're not feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a subtlety of the enemy.
Yes.
That's how subtle, Dennis, the enemy is, right? Because all of us just sat here and admitted how we like to be alone. But in that moment, do we, and I'm using a scripture reference, do we have the mental fortitude to put on the whole armor of God at that moment, right? Yes. And part of the whole armor of God is the helmet of salvation, which guards your thoughts and guards your mind and all those things. Because we're in that moment, and you talk about this some more, Dr. Evans, we're very susceptible and vulnerable in that moment when we're alone.
I mean, the need to arrest certain thoughts, that may be the most important thing when it's just you by yourself. If it's you and you have the saints praying around you, that's totally different. And I think when you're around mature Christians, they understand they don't have to say anything to you. Nothing. I have sat with families and I have not felt a need to say anything. Yeah. And when I say I got ready to leave, they said, man, you just don't know how much you did for us by just being here. That's when you allow God to do whatever he's going to do. One of the things that I always do, if I see someone going far to the left or to the right, to kind of call them back into a more stable place.
So I mean, what do you do? What kind of process do you do to call them back into
just simply talking. It may be a one-on. We could the last time you could be in a house full of people with the body of their loved one still there, and there are those who are having positive conversation, and then you may hear something negative. Mm-hmm. You may hear something that needs to be addressed at that moment. And it's never out of I have nothing at stake. The only thing I want to do is whatever God tells me to do. So sometimes it's just telling a person, the Lord has done nothing wrong. Yeah. He's too good to all of us.
And I think that comes from really understanding what grace is. Grace, and we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. We didn't have to earn it. We didn't have to buy it. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to barter for it. You know, all that. We didn't have to do any of. We didn't have to manipulate. You know, it didn't have your education, your last name. None of those things matter when it comes to grace, right? Grace is freely available to all who are willing to receive that grace, right? If that's one of the tenets of the Christian faith. You know, go ahead.
I mean, when you think about favor, when you think about his kindness, when you think about his love, all of those things are a part of his amazing grace. Mm-hmm. So I think there are times in which he loves on us more because that's what we need. Yeah. I think there are times in which he shows us his kindness in a very unique way because that's what we need. So no, God meets our needs and he meets us right where we are. So we don't have to grow to a place where God meets us. God meets us right where we are. So in the heaviness of feeling the loss of a loved one, God meets us right there. Yeah. In the condition that we're in. Yeah, you know,
and this conversation, it really, because I know Myra's having a tough time. Myra's mother passed not too long ago, so that's what it is. So it's really not supposed to only be about death. It's really not. It's supposed to be about grace in dark moments, and things of that nature. Let me ask you all in the audience right quick. Let's turn it. Have you ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it? And maybe you messed up, maybe life just hit you hard, but grace just showed up. If you've ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it, just drop some fire in the chat for me right quick. Drop some fire in the chat, or tell us about it. Either one. I see Alicia and Jacqueline having a good conversation there. I see Alicia encouraging Jacqueline. I appreciate you for that, Alicia. But yeah, y'all share this. Let's keep this going. But answer that for me right quick before we move forward. Have you ever experienced grace when you know you didn't deserve it? You messed up. Life hit you. Drop some fire in the chat. Life hit you hard, but grace showed up. You, Dennis Pittman, truth be told, you didn't deserve it. You mean I can think of times in over the last 30 years where shut-off notice was on the table. Shut-off notice was on the table, but the check was in the mailbox, and I didn't know what check was coming from. Because we didn't have cash out back then. I couldn't call Dr. Evans and say, man, cash out me $300 so I can pay this bill. I couldn't do that back in the day. But it showed up, or it showed up in and sometimes, Doc, the miracle don't show up in the money, but it might show up in an extension. You know what I'm saying? If I call and say, hey, can I get a few more days? You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, it shows up. You know, grace has a way of showing up. You know why? Because grace isn't just spiritual. It's psychological. Right? Guilt will bury you, but grace will break those chains. And that's my point. In order to get out of the grace gap, we have to get beyond the point where we allow guilt to keep us in prisons. Here it is. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Keep us in prisons that we weren't even sentenced to. I'm just saying. It's not spiritual. No. It's psychological. Talk to me. You're the psychologist. I mean, you're the counselor. Talk to me.
Look, so many of our battles are psychological because they start in our mind. Mm-hmm. And once we can learn to allow God to help us and to strengthen us mentally, that is the reason that, before you can ever have a transformed life, you got to have a renewed mind. Mm-hmm. The thinking has to change. And sometimes it's as simple as this. Instead of thinking God is angry with me or is distant from me, telling yourself the Lord is right here.
Yes.
Because he promised to never leave us or forsake us. And that's even if you've gotten yourself into a situation.
He already died for that.
Yeah. he's right there. And he still wants to help.
He already died for that.
Hey, we can't even put into words the idea of unconditional love
Man,
Because,
agape, yeah.
because in most of our relationships, the love is conditional.
Yeah. Okay, he just messed me up with that one. He said, I'm bar. How you said Dennis Pittman? Bars. He said the reason why a lot of us can't really conceptualize. They didn't say it like that, kind of like that though. They can't really conceptualize his unconditional love, the love that died for what we have not yet done yet, right? He already put an insurance policy in place for that. That's what grace is all about, right? He already put an insurance policy in place for that. But because we love conditionally, we can't fathom his unconditional love. Doc, that's bars right there. That's good. Talk some more about that just a little bit more. Just a little bit.
Probably the closest example of that would be with our children.
Mm-hmm.
The closest example is it's not with our spouses. It is the closest example is with our children.
Yeah, I got
that
you.
We love them when we're proud of them. We love them when we're disappointed. We love them when they make us feel good, and we love them when they crush our hearts. We still love them.
Yeah.
And see, that's the type of love that could encourage a person who's on the edge. That's the type of love that can give someone hope to turn.
Yeah.
Because if they feel like all is lost, why bother? So I think that's a relevant point when we talk about just more than a dead situation. We talk about life. Then look, we can't escape the need for His grace.
No.
But also, if we talk about God's grace, then we are called to be gracious to those around us.
Absolutely. And the problem is, and it hit me like a ton of bricks in the last couple of weeks. The problem is the reason why a lot of people can't extend grace is because they have a problem receiving grace. A lot of people are at the point where they don't think they deserve grace. We live in a very punitive society that punishes everybody for everything. Yeah. And so if everybody can send him to jail, lock him up, whatever, vagrancy law, whatever, all kind of things, And so if that's the mentality, to lock them up, to incarcerate him, and we sentence ourselves because we feel like we've done something, maybe not criminal, but definitely we've done it. Might have been circumstantial, you know what I'm saying? It definitely was a character thing, but whatever it was, when we do something wrong, we're so punitive that we want to punish. Yeah. I watched this video one time on Facebook, and I know it was a prank supposed to be, but the dude was making the girl mad, Alicia and Jacqueline. Y'all talk to me about this, Myra. But this young lady, they were influencers, and this dude caught himself going to irritate his girlfriend by opening up several Sprites, like 3 or 4 Sprites in a row. He would open the can, wouldn't drink them, and just kept opening to irritate her. And all of a sudden, she picked up a broom and started hitting that man on the back of his back. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, open that. I'm like, huh? What made you think that was okay? But she felt like there had to be consequences for him opening up her Sprites. Yeah. And the way she chose to exact her punishment was by taking a broom and hitting him in the back, in the back of the back with that broom. And we all do it. It might not be swinging with a broom. It might be I'm going to stop talking to you. It might be I'm going to stop calling me. We're not going to call. I'm not. Whatever we do, when we hear this, when we withdraw the right hand of fellowship from somebody for whatever reason, it's like we punish. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I got to that point. Oh yeah, because we don't extend grace. That's what it is.
Yeah. The whole idea that the consequences of my actions are not totally in the hands of man. And that is a blessing in itself, that God can rule and he super rules. And there was a brother I know who was looking at one time 45 years in prison. 45 years. And he said, God made a way where I did not spend a day. So by man's standard, that's what he was looking at 45 years. But by God's standard, and therefore we are thankful to God that he makes the final decision. And God is the only one I know who can change a heart, change a mind, and without the person even knowing it.
But the powerful part about the powerful part about that whole scenario you just said though.
What's that?
Is the man knew he wasn't guilty.
Well, now I didn't say that.
Okay, well, did he get proven guilty?
Somehow God moved on his behalf.
Okay.
Because he never told me that he was innocent.
Okay.
But
he didn't say, but did he say he was guilty? Did he feel like? But he never said he was. But you say he never told you he was innocent. So
Most times people start with that. Look, I didn't do this.
Well, but in this scenario, we're not, because of grace, we're not guilty. Because it's covered already.
Because of
I was guilty. Yeah.
Because of God's grace, in most situations, I know I'm guilty.
Yeah, but it's
covered. because of his grace, and we can't leave out his mercy. And
in that process, the word justification in Greek, it means almost as just as if I never did it. When grace puts a veil or a filter or a lens on something that's black, uses red to cover it up, it's blood, and somehow it looks white. It looks pure because of grace, and that's the powerful part, and that's what puts us in a point. There you go, guilty but not charged. I like that. Let me put that on the screen. Yeah. Alicia said guilty but not charged. I stand corrected. Yeah, I definitely was guilty. I just didn't look like it, and the reason I didn't look like it is because of how you saw me, and when you saw me through the Savior. And that's what puts me in that. And the reason I know that is because of the faith I possess, right? I used to hear Craig Oliver, I like to quote Bishop Oliver. He says, faith is forsaking all, I trust him, right? Yeah. When I get to the point, when I leap into the unknown with only God as my basis, that's all I got is my faith. Let me ask y'all in the audience, what's one time, and then I'm going to let you answer this question for us, Doc. What's one time you had to walk by faith, not knowing how it would work, but just believing that it had to? Myra, I bet I know one for you. What's one time you had to walk by faith, not knowing how it would work, but just believing it had to work? You can go ahead, Doc. You can answer that question for us first.
Oh man, I have so many times in my own life. Where I am now, this place in my life I am now, I know that it is nothing but God. Nothing. And I think when we say things like that, people say, well, no, you did. Well, I did what everybody else is doing. I did what every godly person would try to do. You try to pull yourself up. You'll try to encourage yourself. You'll try to make decisions that are pleasing to God. And yet, everybody who does those things are not in the same place. So when I say that God has done things for me that I know I don't deserve, I can't even explain it, how I got to this place, but I know who brought me here. And like I said, I can't pick just one just throughout my life. I am the poster child for the grace and mercy of God.
I can definitely, I wrote about it in the book. But until recently, and I want y'all to share y'all. Myra shared hers. Myra shared her. Myra's cancer journey. I talk about Myra because Myra's a testimony. Myra went to the doctor because she thought she was having a sinus infection, and later found out she had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she was really fighting for her life. But while she's fighting for her life, she had her laptop in the hospital bed with her, trying to work because she thought she knew God was going to heal her. And they did some very, I did a show where, she went through the whole process. And to look at Myra now, if y'all go check out her page, Myra has made a major recovery. And not only now not only has God blessed her, but now she shares with others who are on the same type of journey to help them through their scenario with situations and all those types of things. So when you talk about somebody who had to walk by faith, you know, and we got people pulling their hair out because they can't pay a light bill, you know what I'm saying? Or they can't buy some red bottles when they want to buy them or whatever, you know. But some people going through like issues, man, life changing issues. You know, if anything in the last 4 or 5 years, certain things should have humbled us, man. I mean, the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? I mean, all the things that life changed in our lives, I mean, instantly, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, overnight, we couldn't go outside. We could go to the hospitals. You couldn't get, they were overcrowded. I mean, people couldn't go to their jobs. I mean, people who worked in buildings for years, all of a sudden had to work from home. Then all of a sudden curfew. I mean, all these things, man, I couldn't go get a haircut. All these different things were transpiring where life changed instantly. And you know what it showed us? It showed us we were touchable. Mm-hmm. But in those moments, those of us who had faith were never worried, man. You understand? I mean, you know, I mean, people got rich during the pandemic. You know, some people turned those, man. I mean, they used that moment. I mean, this Dennis Pittman. If you're gonna be in life's valley, you might as well learn valley tactics. Or else you're gonna sit there and just unalive in the valley. No, you better learn how to survive in the valley, and then you survive until you can thrive.
Yeah. And
faith gets you through the surviving moments until you are at a place in life where you can thrive. Let me see what Jackie said. Jackie said, 3 of my sons have been murdered, and I'm still walking by faith that at least one will get justice. Oh, yeah. And that's her story. She's had 3 sons. And some of us think some of us talk about what we're going through.
Yeah.
And people on this line right now going through real life issues, man. And you don't, and you think you haven't been a product of grace or a recipient of grace, man? Come on, how?
Yeah. One of the things that I encourage most of us to do is to know that your situation is not the worst situation, and it can be a difficult thing. But the idea is you can find someone who has gone through more than what you're going through, and probably, Doc, one of the perfect examples. You know, I went to the National Baptist Congress one year. There was a couple who was there before, and they had a T-shirt on with their 4 children, a picture of their 4 children on the T-shirt. Wow. And people were asking, you know, what the T-shirt meant, and the teacher allowed them to talk about it. Their oldest, who was 21, was driving with the 3 other children in the car. Jeez. They have an accident, run off the road into a body of water.
No.
And all 4 of their children passed in one day. One day. They still were sane. They still were saintly. They still were satisfied with life. That can only be God. You know, most parents think about the trauma of losing 1. So if this sister has lost 3, if that family lost 4, then come on now. You know that it sometimes put things in perspective for those who have not gone through what others are going through.
That's deep. That's deep. And it has to be faith. But first of all, it has to be grace.
Yes.
You know, that keeps you from, Jackie, losing your mind.
Yeah.
Or from going out with a baseball bat or trying to go out and do something to somebody else because of what happened to you. That's grace. But then it has to be faith. And I've had conversations with you. We've talked. Jackie and I, that's my big sister. So we talk.
Yeah.
So I get it. It. Go ahead.
The fact that she's still here is a testimony to the power of God. Yeah. Still wants justice for her sons. Yeah. But at the same time, she hadn't let go of life.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And you can be alive and stop living.
That deserves a sermonic pause. You can be alive and stop living. Yeah. And so and here we are again with the part about being alone and, you know, and how long to be alone, all those types of things, right? Because that's the perfect time for the enemy to come in. And what does the enemy usually come in with? He usually comes in with something like fear, you know, and we say faith, you know, here we and this is the fact, when we lack faith, consider this thought. When we lack faith, fear fills the gaps.
Yeah.
And fear, here it is, loves to dress up as logic. Fear likes to make itself make sense. It wants to give justification of why you should be afraid or why you deserve to be afraid. It dresses up as logic. Does that make sense?
Always.
Dennis Pittman, can you imagine that? When you fail to operate in faith, then you leave a gap. You leave a hole. When somebody's depressed, there's a void in their life usually, and that void needs to be filled. And you can either fill it with flowers or you can fill it with trash, right? So when we lack faith, something needs to fill that gap where faith should be. And so when faith is not where faith is supposed to be, then fear shows up and says, "Here I am. Let me get that." And when it says, "Let me get that," it loves to dress itself up. It'll put a mask on. It'll put the right suit on. It'll put on some J's. It'll put on some 1s or some 11s. It'll put on all whatever to make itself look the way it's supposed to look because it dresses up as logic. I should feel this way. I deserve to grieve longer. I heard somebody today say, I hear people, I say this all the time. We stay on the healing journey sometimes a long time and never ever get to healed because some of us wear healing as a badge of honor. Like we should, you know, and I just say I'm in this process, leave me alone, I'm healed. You know, I understand, I get it. But if we're striving to heal, to me, and I know that I saw you look at me kind of crazy. That's kind of like, to me, the pharmaceutical sales company steadily putting people on medication, knowing that they'll never be healed, or they'll be cured, right? Mm-hmm. So if I desire to be healed, like you said in the beginning of this thing, when I kept experiencing the void or whatever, not being able to handle certain things, you said that I need to do the work, right? You know, or some work I need to do. So in healing, if we're doing the work at a certain point, we should at least be better. And that's what
and part of that work is being or feeling what you're feeling, and processing those feelings.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes when we are alone, we process them and sometimes we don't. And that's the danger of just putting yourself in isolation. And I would say that is 100% of the time when you put yourself in isolation. What I tell members who have had great losses, I'll give you a Sunday. All right. But after 3 or 4 or 5 Sundays, where do you think you're going? Do you think you're drawing closer to God, or are you drifting further away?
Yeah.
And I always tell people now, when people come, leave them alone. Just let them feel whatever they feel, experience whatever they experience. The late Dr. O.C. Brand used to always say, he said, I hate to see someone who's getting stronger and they come to church and run into a member who is not as strong as they are.
Mm.
And here they are, they're holding it all together. Somebody who wasn't even related to them comes and falls on their shoulder and just start crying.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Give one on good times. Yeah.
Right. We have to be strength for others.
Yeah. And that's what Paul meant when he said, "You with your spiritual restore such a one." Hey. You know, so when we got people that are broken still trying to restore other people because of that, and that's where in the grace gap, that's where the ego part comes in, right? Because the ego is what allows us, Jackie, Dennis, to put that mask on.
Yes.
To look like we're okay.
And
you know what I'm saying?
And we allow some folks to remain in the room when we should put them out.
That's what it is. Yeah. And some people, because some people think they belong in the room, you know, they deserve, you know, and that room, you know, and that's where the maturity comes in, right? Yes. That's, you know, but that's a person, like I said, who's operating in that ego, and that ego will keep you from receiving grace. You know, some people had a zeal of God, had the zeal for God, but refused to acknowledge the power. You know what I'm saying? So they look the part. You got a whole bunch of people that really do look the part. That's what the ego does. That ego makes, it's that mask. You know, I mean, I can go see Shemaine. That's my barber. I can go see Shemaine every Thursday and never look like I need a haircut. Right? You know, I can dress it up, you know, put on a suit or the right outfit and, you know, and look good or whatever. But I can be broken, and I did it. But you know what, man, when I was going through my stuff, though, especially after the divorce, I would go to church, but I was so out of it, I wasn't wearing suits. I was sitting in the balcony for a while. At first, I didn't go to my own church. I was going to somebody else's church. Like I said, I'm going to go, like you said, go into another area. And then I started coming back to my church, and I started warming my hand by the fire, you know. So I got on hoodies and jeans, sitting up in the balcony, you know what I'm saying? And one day my pastor said, Kirk, I sure wish you would come sit a little closer to me. And I said, okay. You know, and then all of a sudden, and I've been back ever since, you know. Wow. But I think, but here it is. In that grace gap, I think part of what kept me from getting closer was guilt.
Yeah.
I felt like I had been gone so long. So many things keep us from receiving grace.
Yeah.
And
also remember, here's what I tell every brother, every sister. God does not use guilt and shame. Period. If you're feeling guilty and if you're carrying the weight of shame, that's not God. Because he would never burden us down with those things. We self-indulge in those things. He wants to lift us up. I don't care how far we have sunken. He still wants to lift us up. But if
y'all believe that?
Yeah.
Y'all believe that?
I mean, God doesn't use shame and guilt.
But the enemy would make you think he does.
Yes.
I mean, you mean he don't want you to eat out of all those trees?
You would think it's godly when it's satanic.
You mean he don't want you to eat? I mean, all these trees out here. You mean you can't eat out of all these? Why you can't eat out of all these trees? You feel what I'm saying? But that's how he dresses it up. God said, but in fact, God said you can eat out of all these trees, but this one. But the enemy comes and says the same thing. You mean to tell me you can't eat out of all these trees? Why God don't want you to eat out of all these trees? Because if you eat out of this tree, then is he scared you're gonna be thinking like it? See, that's how the enemy will take. He'll take where faith should have been, put fear there, because fear is false evidence that appears real. Guilt and shame don't come from God. So in that moment, what we should do is return them to sender. Yeah. That's it. We should return them to sender. Do y'all believe that? Myra said, yes, she believes it. Anybody else? Y'all believe that God doesn't use guilt and shame? And how many times have you allowed guilt and shame to block you from proceeding further or to keep you in a place longer than you should have stayed? How many times have you, has that ever happened to anyone else in the chat? Yeah. You allow guilt to keep you from doing things, shame to keep you from doing it. You know, Doc, you know, you've heard me say it before, so you'll forgive me. Dennis, I think you've heard me say it too, and it's just a metaphor. But I used to let guilt and shame use me, but when my middle finger started going up, my stress level started going down a whole lot more. I promise you. I'm not physically going around sticking up my middle finger at people, but I'm telling you, guilt and shame don't live here no more. I promise. That was one of the things that made me successful back in the day. Was I didn't have a fear of loss. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? It was ego, because it really wasn't who I was. I was acting that part to be successful. But when I came home, I went right on back in my shell. Went right on back to it. I was in a house full of people, but still felt like I was all alone. Yeah. And spent a whole lot of time by myself. Yeah. But I put that ego, I put that mask on.
Yeah. And also think about this, man. You said something when you are around people that you know love and care for you, but you still feel like you're by yourself.
Mm.
So when we have lost someone through any type of disconnection, whether that's death or the ending of a relationship, we have to know that there are still people in our lives who want to remain connected to us, and we have to work to stay connected to one another. You know, you can't maintain a friendship and never engage someone. You cannot maintain any relationship when you sever ties. And God made us relational creatures, so we need other people. You know, and that's another reason we have to watch when we isolate how we use it, what we do when we're using it. I rather go into a solitary way with the Lord, spend time in prayer, reading scripture. If I'm doing that, that's one thing. If I am bemoaning my situation and I'm getting more and more depressed, that's something totally different.
See that. Jackie got a question. Can you read that on the screen? Jackie said, I've always found myself being the tow truck for everyone. Now I'm in a mental state of where's the tow truck? Where's the tow truck for the tow truck? She said, does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, the idea that, the idea that we need someone to help us.
Yeah.
And when you are the one who is helping, there may be some, you need to probably seek God and say, look, show me someone who can help me. If I'm going to help these 100 people, show me at least one person that I can call on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the people we're blessed, the people we bless are not the people that turn around and bless us.
Yeah. And Jackie had such a good heart. I mean, Jackie, we met on Facebook, and I told her I was doing one of my events in Arkansas, and we had never really had a conversation over the phone. She said, "Ooh, do you need food? Let me cater it. Let me get a caterer for you." And then it went so well. The next time she said she found the location and catered it. You know what I'm saying? She just had a heart to serve. Pick me up from the airport. Just being a big sister. You know what I'm saying? And me and Jackie, and the only time we've ever met in person is to go do something with the event. We met at the event the first time. I didn't know who she was. She walking on it. Look, this woman then purchased food for 30 people at my event, and she's walking on the sidewalk. And I'm like, "Are you Jackie?" She's like, "Yes." And we just hugged and been cool ever since then. And every time I've seen her since then has been something. And I'm saying it to say she has a heart to serve. So I feel her when she says that she's been a tow truck, but now she's tired. And now she's at a point where she's looking for reciprocation. And I get it. I get it. And you deserve it, Jackie. You do.
Yes. God may just give it from a different source than the people that she gave it to.
Yeah. Alicia said that's why therapists have therapists.
Amen. I can say amen to that.
She's by training a therapist as well, so she can relate to it as well. She can relate to it as well. That's she. Look, I use all y'all therapists. I'm glad ain't nobody sent me a bill yet, thank God. But I call you in a heartbeat and have a conversation. In fact, we need to talk soon. But I will call you in a heartbeat, Dr. Edmonds. We've been talking, and you and I have only met 2 or 3 times in person, but we've maintained a friendship. And I think that time was because my son was going to a baseball camp, and he was going to be there all day, and I needed somewhere to go to church while I was in Starkville, Mississippi, and Dr. Evans was in Columbus, Mississippi, which is about 30 minutes away. So I went to his church. He let me pray altar call, and he's brought me back to preach a couple of times since then. And we just been cool ever since then. I was on my way. I was on my way to do my event in Arkansas. Told him what I was going to do. He said, "How much it cost?" He said, "Check your cash out." I'm like, "Whoa!" I transferred that money so fast to those people who, but people just sow seeds, man, because they believe in what we're doing, and I appreciate that. And a lot of that is because I walk by faith. I don't have anything else but my faith. Everything else had left me. Everything else had failed me. Everything that when the Midas touch literally turns into a mud touch, and the stuff that used to work don't work no more, you don't have nothing left but faith. Now, it's the sad part about it is that we have to get so fragile and so fragile and frail in what we were doing before we realized that we had faith. You know what I'm saying? Because we forgot sometimes. But faith, it didn't ever leave. We always had access to the same grace.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm just talking tonight. And I've had you on here. We've been on here for an hour, so I ain't mean to keep you this long. I'm sorry. But I really, anybody else have any questions for Dr. Evans or for us or any testimonies? The phone number's right there. If you want to call in, you're welcome to call in. The link, I pinned it earlier. If you want to come on the video, you're welcome to come on the video. And if you got a testimony, something you want to share, how this might have blessed you tonight. I didn't know how the conversation was really going to go. I just knew I had to share with Doc that I thought I made a good mental health decision yesterday. And I'm going to stick with that. I believe that. Now, I'm not mad at the church. I ain't mad at anybody. I'll be back next Sunday. You know, I'm looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back. But that day, I needed to sit it out. Yeah. And the day ended well. You know, I went to work, went out to dinner later on that day. You know, that day ended well. You know, I had so I didn't dwell in a state of depression. You know, that wasn't it. But I feel like if I would have made a different decision, I probably would have been in a different mood. And that mood would have affected me negatively or adversely. Then that wasn't where I needed to be in that moment. Now, Dennis, I love church. You know, Kirk been preaching 30 years. You know what I'm saying? I love church. So to me, I look at church, Doc, I don't know if you use this one or not, but I look at church like the spiritual gas station. And so once a week at least, I like to go by and get my fill up. You know, so that's, and I don't necessarily go to the gas station to hang out. I know they got Buc-ee's and QT and all these big gas stations now. That's not really where I go to hang out. You know, I go to get gas. A lot of times I don't even go in. I pay at the pump. But so I go get what I need and then I move on. And that's what I use church for, Doc. But that's where I'm at. Anybody have any questions for Pastor Evans? I'm not going to hold him much longer. Doc, you have anything you want to share to encourage the people and to see if they have any questions before we get you out of here?
I would just encourage everybody, just stay with God. Regardless of how the tide turns, how the world turns, stay with God. He is the surest thing that we have ever encountered, and it's all because he never changes. His affection, his love for us never changes. His power never changes. He is the same God every day. And he is the sure thing in my life, and he is the sure thing in our lives. So just stay with God.
Doc, I appreciate you. That anybody gonna stay with it? I'm gonna stay with it. I'm gonna roll with it, and that's me. And that's not, that's not even up for debate. You know what I'm saying? I know sometimes people they'll come up and they'll say, you're a slave. I ain't even debating that no more. I ain't got time for that. Y'all can do that on your own time. I'm rolling with this. No, I'm not right. I'm not rolling. But Doc, I'm gonna let you on out of here. We'll talk soon because I do need to talk to you. But y'all don't leave yet. We're gonna talk for a few more minutes, then we're gonna roll it on out. But Doc, I appreciate you, man. Love you, bro, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you so much, brother. You take care, Doc.
Yep. All right, man. That's my guy, man. He always shows up whenever I need him, and he always has a fresh, biblical, grounded perspective, and he's not gonna deviate. He's not gonna deviate, and I like that. I like that about him. Good, great friend. So we talked about grace tonight. We've talked about faith. We're going to talk about Joseph's journey a little bit. Joseph was betrayed, lied on, locked up, but he kept going. And that's what I want to encourage somebody tonight. You might have been betrayed, you might have been lied on, you might have been locked up. Whatever it is that you've gone through, whatever it is you've grown through, you're growing through it. You're better because you went through it. And the thing is, you don't allow that prison or that pit. Where's this question? Okay, hold on. Do you think church? Oh, hold on. I can get him back. Hold on. You want me to answer that? You want him to answer? Let me get him back. Doc, if you're still listening, come back on. Hold on. Let me get him back. Somebody has a question for you. Period. Can you come back for a minute? I'm gonna try to get him back. Anybody else in the audience? Now, don't jump on this. Don't jump on Dennis, but I want your personal perspective, Alicia, Myra, those who are listening. Do you think? Okay, you want mine too? I'll give you mine in a minute. Do you think a church is necessary for spiritual growth? That's a good question. What do y'all think in the audience? I'm gonna give you my comment in a minute, and hopefully I get Doc back. If not, somebody else in the audience that want to come on and answer that question, answer it. Do you think that's a good question? At church is necessary. I think I kind of answered it a minute ago. If you listen to my answer about the gas station, but I'm trying. How you spell spiritual? Oh, there it is. No, I'm slow, Dennis. All right, that's Dennis's question. Dennis said, "Do you think?" Oh, he came back. Do you think church is necessary for spiritual growth? Y'all answer it in the comments, and I'm grabbing Dr. Evans. He is so nice. He is so nice. I appreciate you, Doc. I'm sorry. I know you about to go get in the shower, pop you some popcorn, and watch the game. I know. I'm sorry, but Dennis Pippin had a question, and we got to answer it for it. He said he loves you as a guest. Myra said yes, but what do you think? Do you think church is necessary for spiritual growth? Answer yes, and then tell why, or yes or no, and then tell why.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would say whenever you find the fellowship where you're being fed the word of God, where you're being embraced as a brother or sister, when you're being supported as just a human, as a person, I don't think there's another organization that can do what the organism does. I encourage individuals, look, if you go into a place where you know no one, you have brothers and sisters there if you are a Christian. Make that bond. Now, the caveat is finding the right fellowship.
That's it.
And when you find that right fellowship, you know it. It's not a perfect fellowship, but it's a fellowship that's loving. And remember now, the world offers us many things, but the world never offers us that love that we all so desperately need.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Dennis, you cool with that answer? Before he leaves, then when he get off this time, he's gone. So go ahead, type fast if you got another question or whatever. Go ahead. Myra said yes. Anybody else have an answer? If it's no, say no. If whatever your answer is, I want your honest answer. Now, Doc gave his answer. I'm gonna give my answer. Myra gave her answer, yes.
And while you think about that, let me add the other part onto it. There is a you know, that fellowship is a big part of the acceptance, but the other part of it is you being able to exercise your gifts. And I always tell people, I don't care if it's singing, whatever gift you have, when you have that base of a supportive church, people can check you out, and then others will say, look, that person's okay because they're a part. And one of the things that I admired about the gospel singer Lee Williams so much is that he kept that connectivity to the church where he started singing before any of us ever knew him. God can extend your territory and you still remain rooted to that church congregation, that family that first accepted you. Joyce Meyer, she has never pastored the church. Her pastor said he knew something special about her ministry when her CDs started outselling his. You know, so look, when we have a gift to use it for the body of Christ, I still think we need that base of a church home that gives us legitimacy. Because when a person comes to me with a ministry, the first question I ask, not how long you've been in ministry, what church are you a part of? Because you got to be a part of the body of Christ and not an independent consultant.
That's good. I like that. And he said it, and people have said a word a couple times, Dennis. Fellowship, Christian fellowship. I look at life kind of like a garden, right? And church, and then you have a bunch of seeds, and the seed needs to be to get the maximum growth or the maximum potential needs to be planted in the proper place, right? And when it's planted properly in the proper place, where somebody can literally cultivate those gifts, somebody who understands those gifts, somebody who's been where you're going, and they water that gift. They water it with the word. That's what the Bible teaches us. We water it with the word, and we start to understand it. And the thing that really happens more than anything is when we really get to a place of self-discovery, when we really understand ourselves and our identity through God, through Christ. When we really understand that, then what happens is I become more me. I become me intensified, right? I become me to the 10th power when I really operate in that faith and know who I am, because I'm not just on a superficial journey. This journey, oh God, this journey ends somewhere. There's a culmination when it's all over. People don't talk about heaven no more. I don't know why, but I'm still living with HIV. I'm living with heaven in view. I believe that when it's all said and done, that I'm living to live again. And when we live with that expectancy, right? When we understand that there is something after this, then that's the faith that drives us. That's why Joseph, although he was in the pit, when he got to the palace, he can look back and say, you know what? I went through all those processes to get to the place of God.
Yes.
And see, God uses processes to get us to his place. And sometimes on this journey, life will get to life in Dennis. It starts life in, man, and you need a recharge. What better place than to be able to go somewhere where people are going through the same things? But like Doc just said a minute ago, he ain't said, but I was thinking it. Too many people judge the church because they went to the wrong church.
Yeah.
And I think that's an unfair judgment.
Yeah.
People judge the church at large, Universal Church, because you went to a couple of bad churches.
Yes.
That don't make sense. Does that make sense, Dennis? But I'm gonna let Doc go now. Doc, you got anything you want to say one more time?
No, man. I was just still listening, so I heard.
Okay, you were still listening. Okay, good. And Dennis, anything else, sir? Dennis is an athlete, so he understands that exercising thing and using your gift. So he played ball at Kent State. Yeah, he played ball at Kent State. And his daughters are going to probably be D1 athletes playing basketball and stuff. So he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing. All right, I'm gonna let you go now, Doc. We'll talk to you next time. Appreciate you.
Be blessed, bro.
All right. Anybody still there? Are we okay? Good. Dennis said it does make sense. Any more questions before we get out of here? This has been a good open mic night. Now, listen, I am desiring to get to the point where you all come on here and do the talking. I want to sit back and I want to answer the questions or facilitate the conversation. And really, most of y'all in this little community that we're this stew crew that we're developing, most of you all are, encouragers of each other anyway. Y'all have all been through something, and you know how to articulate yourself, and that's what makes this conversation profitable. I believe what makes it profitable every week when we jump on here. Okay. All right. So I thank you all for joining me tonight on another episode of the Intellectual Stew. I don't know. I might do another open mic night next week. I might do another one next week because I want to talk. But I want us to get to the point where you're comfortable. This is a safe space. This is a safe space. This is a safe space. And I honestly want to see us all better. That's why we always ride with the tagline. But this tagline, because at the end of the day, we all want to be better. And all of us want to be better. We're on the path to better. Alicia, I appreciate you for making that post this week. She invited people to the live. Now, they might not have came this week, but at some point they're going to. But she talked about her personal experience, and when she used the term we quite a bit, she said we have these conversations. We are a safe space because we are a community. We are on the Intellectual Stew. So y'all just keep rocking with me. Keep rocking with me. If you want to help support the platform, there the Cash App is. You can see it. There the Zelle phone number is, and there the PayPal is. If you want to buy T-shirts, T-shirts are available. I have some smalls, mediums, larges, and one XL left. That's all I have. The XL is in blue. The other ones are going to be in red, white, or black. But I do have some shirts available. They are $25. I will still split the shipping with you. So I'll do it for, even though I'll pay more because shipping is $6, but I'll pay the $350. You pay the $250. So you give me $27.50 and you can get it. Let me show you what the shirts look like again for those who have not seen them. It says a slogan that I say every night when I close: the world is changing. Why do you remain the same? Some of them have the words on the front and the logo on the back. I know what some of y'all are thinking. Nope, it's not. I'm gonna let y'all fill in the blank on that one. It's not. And then the other ones, these have the logo on the front. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother Dennis. These have the logo on the front. And there's nothing on the back of this. It just has the logo on the front. Now, these are smalls. Anybody want those? I'll do those for $17.50. So send me $20. And I got 2 white ones in the smalls. If you want this, send me $20 and I'll ship those to you. I'll ship those to you. But anybody want a shirt, hit me up on the inbox. By next week, I will have them up on the website so you can go and purchase those. I thought I was going to have it ready for you tonight, but ran into some technical difficulties. That's what I get for not knowing how to do certain things technically. But I'll fix it, and by next week, I'll have it ready for you. Check it out. Tonight has been real because it started with a confession, but it ended with us coming up with a connection. And that's what I want us to always do. I want us to connect over our experiences, over all the things that we go through, and we share those experiences one with the other. And then when we come out stronger, because guess what we learn? We learn that we're not the only ones that go through. That's such a powerful place to be in. We're not the only ones. Dennis, you're not the only one that goes through. You're not the only one. Jack, you've been through a lot, promise you. But we all have our relative things. Myra, all of us. But if we got somebody that's going to encourage us, that's going to help us get through these dark times, right? Because times will come. But when those times come, we can triumph over those times, right? The reason why we can triumph over those times is because we understand what the end looks like. Listen, faith is necessary. And the journey, though it's long, it has purpose. Joseph didn't get to the place of God overnight, but he never stopped dreaming. Even when people were trying to discount his dreams, even when they threw him in the pit, he was sold into slavery. He never stopped dreaming, and neither should you. If tonight touched you, do me a favor, drop something in the comments, share the episode, tell somebody that everywhere you go, tell them you're on the path to better, because trust me, it might not, even though sometimes your promised land looks like a problem land, but really it's a prosperous land. You just got to go through it. But before you log off, remember this one thing, and I say it every night, it's in closing. The world is changing, but my question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and I look forward to seeing you all again on next week. I promise I love y'all. Y'all be good.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my time.
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the Mind Messiah.
Intellectual